Hi, welcome to the Crypto Republic. Before we begin today, if you're serious about staying ahead in this once-in-a-lifetime financial shift, make sure you like this video, drop a comment, and subscribe to the Crypto Republic. Hello, XRP Army, and welcome back to the Crypto Republic, your go-to channel for the latest high-energy updates in digital assets. Before we get started with today's business, make sure to smash that like button, ring that bell, and subscribe to the Crypto Republic, bringing you updates every day at 9 a.m., noon, and 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Ladies and gentlemen, stop what you're doing for a second, because this is something nobody in the crypto world is talking about. And if you miss it, you could be completely blindsided. But first, as always, like always, your support means so much to this channel. Thank you to everyone who takes the time to like these videos and subscribe and comment. These three simple things help us bring you the most important updates before anyone else, so we can all stay ahead of the curve. Now, here's the deal. For years, everyone has been focused on Bitcoin, thinking it leads everything. But the latest data, ETF inflows, chart patterns, Ripple sentiment architecture, Google Cloud integrations, MAS licensing, and the rollout of the bank-grade stablecoin RLUSD, well, ladies and gentlemen, tells a completely different story. XRP may have quietly leapfrogged Bitcoin in institutional utility. And when you see the numbers, the chart setups, and historical parallels I'm about to show you, you'll understand exactly why almost nobody realized it. Have you been watching XRP quietly dominate behind the scenes? If you have, let me know in the comments. So grab a pen and pay attention, and let's break it down step by step, because what I'm about to show you could change how you see the crypto market forever. Let's talk about shocking ETF inflows and Ethereum outflows. Let's start with the numbers. The XRP ETF is currently leading inflows among Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana ETFs. Ethereum, on the other hand, is actually showing net outflows. And this is huge. We're seeing a major institutional rotation. For a long time, the narrative was that Ethereum would dominate everything always. Every app would sit on Ethereum. Ethereum would be the app store for decentralized finance. All large-scale projects would build on its ecosystem. But this thesis is breaking down, ladies and gentlemen. Institutional investors are realizing that, yes, Ethereum is a great sandbox, but once you reach a certain scale, you don't want to be constrained by Ethereum's rules. It simply doesn't make sense for large-scale projects to pigeonhole themselves into Ethereum. They'd rather build on independent chains with custom-built solutions, flexible, efficient, and fast. And that's exactly where XRP comes in. This is a huge institutional wave out of Ethereum, moving capital into assets that offer real-world, proven utility, folks. XRP is perfectly positioned to capture this shift. Interoperability is king, ladies and gentlemen, always. And Ethereum is great for testing, but large-scale projects can't be trapped in someone else's ecosystem. XRP doesn't need every app built on its ledger. It only needs to move value seamlessly between chains while remaining interoperable with all major financial networks. And institutions are starting to take notice. This interoperability is exactly what they've been waiting for. Let's look at the historical perspectives for a second. Everybody knows I love history. Let's put this into context. In ancient Rome, the roads analogy. Rome didn't conquer the world just with armies. It built infrastructure. Roads connected empires and enabled trade. Ripple is building digital roads, and XRP is the highway of digital finance. Phoenician traders, efficiency wins. Phoenicians dominated the Mediterranean trade, not by fighting, but moving goods faster. XRP's corridors mirrored that principle. Medieval guilds, slow, public, fast, private. Banks have always moved cautiously, publicly, but decisively behind the scenes. XRP's adoption mirrors that strategy. Quiet, strategic, and powerful. The Renaissance Medici. Innovation pays off, ladies and gentlemen. The Medici created cross-border finance, letters of credit, and merchant networks. Ripple is modern Medici building sentiment rails quietly before the world notices. Age of exploration, the new routes. Discovering new trade routes changed global wealth. Digital liquidity corridors are the modern equivalent. Ripple is the fastest ship on these routes. Let's talk about Google Cloud partnership. Google Cloud has integrated Ripple's ledger technology for enterprise solutions. Enterprise-grade validation, global scalability, compliance-ready infrastructure. This is the Library of Alexandria moment of digital finance, ladies and gentlemen, combining knowledge, logistics, and trade for exponential growth. Let's look at Singapore MAS licensing. The Monetary Authority of Singapore has expanded Ripple's licenses, giving Ripple legitimacy in a global financial hub. Cross-border adoption accelerates. Institutions see a compliant and safe system. Ripple gains credibility for a global rollout. Singapore, it is probably, in my opinion, the most important financial hub in the globe. So the things that happen there first really, really change everything. And if you even look at their compliance system, the Monetary Authority of Singapore, if you're a citizen of Singapore and there's something that happens and you have a financial loss from fraud or you get ripped off, the MAS, the Monetary Authority of Singapore, actually will give you a refund. That's how hardcore that they actually enforce things. So getting licenses over there is so huge and so big that once you've made it there, it kind of, that's, everything else falls into place. That's the first domino falling over there. All the major deals happen there first, and that's why you can see a lot of, if you were going to look at something and you were going to chart it out, if you see people making moves over to Singapore first, setting up shop, moving offices, opening offices, moving personnel, that gives you a very good cue that you're early to something good happening. And you guys always know that I like to have a plan. I like to make a map. And if I can see a map where we start to where we're going, then you have a plan. And once you have a plan, you have the mechanics of where you're going to go. And to me, that is why you get into any form of investment decision you're going to make for yourself by having a plan. That's the most important thing, right? This is the Venice of modern day finance, controlling trade and influence. Let's talk about Ripple's acquisition infrastructure stack. Ripple acquired G Treasury, Treasury Management, Fortis, payment infrastructure. These acquisitions consolidate the entire settlement stack, like the 19th century railroads controlling the tracks. Ripple now controls the rails of global digital finance. RLUSD stablecoin and tokenization. Ripple's RLUSD allows Ripple to keep fiat on balance sheets. Tokenized liquidity movement, regulatory compliance settlements. Near instant cross-border conversion. This solves 95% of institutional regulatory friction and positions XRP as a bank-grade settlement rail. Ripple's transforming banks into stablecoins right in front of our eyes. Ladies and gentlemen, here's where it gets really interesting. Ripple isn't just creating a stablecoin of digital settlement rails. They're quietly re-architecturing the entire banking system. Instead of integrating it to banks, Ripple's turning banks into Ripple nodes without them even realizing it. Banks keep fiat on their balance sheets. Stablecoins like RLUSD sit on Ripple's ledger. Compliance stays intact. Both sides operate separately, yet function as a unified system. This dual-rail architecture solves the biggest regulatory headaches. Essentially, Ripple lets banks maintain traditional fiat operations across tokenized settlement instantly. Do it all without touching crypto directly. And here's the part almost nobody says out loud. If Ripple secures a banking license and signs onto it, it becomes the first institution capable of internalizing fiat to stablecoin tokenized value conversions without touching crypto itself, ladies and gentlemen. This eliminates 95% of regulatory friction instantly, giving Ripple and its partner banks a massive first-move advantage. If you combine this with global cloud institutional ledger testing, Bank of America pilots, MAS licensing in Singapore, and you see why XRP is the plumbing of global finance, not just another crypto. Does this make the XRP the backbone of banking? Comment below. Some of the deals that I did in physical commodities, we were first to certain areas where we did solvent extraction, electrowinning of ore in areas. And we were first there. And in the beginning, we were kind of mocked for some of the things that we had to do. It was like basically telling somebody, look, on road shows raising money, here we have ore, we have this rock. I'm going to put this in an autoclave, which is a fancy word for a dishwasher, and we're going to spray with acid and leach out precious metals. You know, some people think of that as the modern day snake oil salesman. But for the few people that were listening over 2 decades ago when we were doing this in certain areas, they turned out to do so well with us, and that has become industry standard in certain places, as you saw the ways of green refining and green, just ways of natural resource recovery took place. Because certain areas have basically laws that you can't own the land. You can't own anything below it. You can have a license to the land, but you can't own it. So you'd have to buy what's physically available to you, which is ore and rock. Why I'm saying this is if you can see through all the noise and the minutia and being ridiculed of where things are going to go, and you're willing to stake it for yourself, and this is for yourself, not anybody else, to say, I see where the world is going. I see change is coming and I want to be part of it. Well, you're the first to take advantage of something. But along the way, you got to be able to take the heat or you're going to have to get out of the kitchen. So, to me, when I look at XRP, and this is my own personal views, and I have plenty of calls with people, and I try to always give analogies so that they can understand. When you're in school, a teacher says 2 + 2 is 4. Maybe someone gets it, maybe someone doesn't. If you take out, here's 2 oranges and here's 2 apples, what do you have? How much fruit do I have? Well, I got 4 pieces of fruit now. So it really comes down to your conviction, what you want for yourself and where you're going to go. This is the most important thing. Again, but if you can have the conviction of why you're doing something, well, this is why you're in this. And this is why the people who get involved very, very early and have the conviction not to pay attention to noise, understand that the world is going to change and they want to be part of it because change is the only thing that's constant in this life, okay? Well, that's why you have to have a plan. Bank of America and institutional testing. Ripple integrated into Bank of America pilots. APAC and Middle Eastern banks testing corridors. Google Cloud validates enterprise adoption. Tokenization and settlement trials ramp globally. Institutions are quietly positioned to dominate digital settlements. Let's look at chart analysis and critical levels. Key support levels, support bounce at $2, next test $2.30. If we hold $2.30, trend reversal confirmed, upside $2.50 to $3. Potential institution step in at $3.50 plus possible. This pattern mirrors historical post-capitulation structures seen in Ethereum 2017, Solana 2023, and other major altcoins. So let's look at the institutional psychology. Well, new institutional entrants avoid hype. They chase utility. They seek global compliance. Look for scalable infrastructure. XRP meets all these criteria, which is why institutions are quietly moving in and why they, in my opinion, why the deals that they just got in Singapore with the MAS is so key for institutions. Because as an institution, if you're going to move, a couple yards of capital, right, you want to make sure that you are crystally clear compliance, that you're not going to have a problem tomorrow. And once you have these regulatory thumbs ups and approvals in these areas, you Gucci, you good to go. So let's talk about the Leapfrog moment. We connect all the dots. ETF inflows outperform Bitcoin and Ethereum. The chart setup signals reversal. Ripple RLUSD stablecoin plus tokenization. Google Cloud integration. MAS licensing. Banks onboarding. XRP hasn't just kept pace with Bitcoin, ladies and gentlemen. It may have leapfrogged it in institutional utility. Bitcoin is still the store of value, but XRP is becoming the store of settlement. History proves winners control infrastructure, not just assets. So here's my historical wrap-up for you. Rome, the Phoenicians, medieval guilds, Renaissance Medici, age of exploration, all examples of systems built before everyone understood their value. XRP repeats this pattern. Roads, liquidity corridors, merchants, institutional adoption, printing press, scalability settlement, ships, globalized tokenized value. Those controlling infrastructure dominate. So while the world watches Bitcoin, Ripple quietly builds the rails that will define global crypto settlements. XRP is positioned, ladies and gentlemen, for institutional dominance. So if you enjoyed this, hit like, subscribe for more deep dives. Comment your thoughts. Did you see this coming? And always, this content is for informational entertainment purposes only and should not be taken as financial advice. Always do your own research. Consult a licensed financial advisor before making investment decisions. Ladies and gentlemen, remember, the game is changing, and those who understand it first will benefit most. Make sure you're on the right side of it. You have 2 choices. You can be like the crowd, reacting after the move, rationalizing why they missed it, telling themselves they'll never let it happen again, or you could be the one who saw behind the curtain, the one who understood the infrastructure shift, the one who positioned early, not randomly, but intentionally. Because some moments in history are loud, but the ones that change everything are quiet, right up until the moment they're not. And this is one of those moments. Do not blink, because the world is distracting you with noise, while XRP continues developing behind the scenes and building momentum in the broader digital asset landscape. Stay sharp, stay informed, accumulate knowledge. Your move now will be remembered. This is not the end of the story. This is just the beginning. This opened your eyes. Smash that like button, ring the bell, and leave a comment with your thoughts. Turn on notifications, and most importantly, subscribe to the Crypto Republic. We break down the major global banking trends shaping digital assets today, giving you context, clarity, and research you can use. Don't just watch history happen. Stay informed, stay ahead, and stay in the Republic.